Okay, the next two lessons I'm going to clump together. So we're doing lesson 3 and lesson 4 in this video. So lesson 3 is how important was John Snow to the development of public health during the 19th century. So I'll start off with this lesson first of all. So before you do that, can you please do the low stakes quiz question on page 11? Answer the questions. Pause the video and answer them. The answers are on the screen now. Okay, so what we're doing today is how important was John Snow to the development of public health during the 19th century? The big take home here is, well, was he so significant, or was it his sort of external surroundings, what the government was doing at the time? So you're kind of comparing the two factors of government versus the role of individuals in John Snow for this specific thing. So think about public health during the 19th century. So again, when we spoke about in the first video in the industrial era, we're thinking about a time in which cities were extremely overcrowded, conditions were poor, water supplies were not healthy. People used to chuck their excretion outside the window. People used shared bathrooms that were outside. Drinking supply and toilet supply weren't particularly different. There wasn't an extensive sewage system, okay? And this lesson, we see that change. So what you have to do first of all is read through the John Snow information. So what he essentially did, so you're doing the same thing, same layout, reading through, putting in the blanks, the words over here, then using two highlighters, you're highlighting the role of John Snow and the role of the government, okay? Because you need to compare the two and how both of them combined or separately helped develop public health during the 19th century. And the specific sort of disease that we are looking at is, we're looking at water supplies, okay? We're looking to see about a specific disease called cholera. Now, cholera is a waterborne disease, so it's not to do with the air or what would have been believed as miasma. It's not to do like that. It's a disease that specifically is transported and transferred by water. Okay, so it's a bacteria that, around the world it's a really big deal still, especially in other countries that don't have, that live in poverty. In some areas of those countries, water is a big deal, which is why it's really important that people have clean supplies of water. And what we see here, so I'm not going to kind of give it all to you because I want you to do this yourself, but we see that in a specific area, so in Broad Street in Soho, John Snow ends up studying the sort of outbreak of cholera and realising that people who drank beer as opposed to water, they weren't really getting affected by it. So it kind of led him to think, well, it must be because there is a water supply that has the cholera. And he eventually ends up getting this pump removed, and it stops the disease spreading in that area. Now, Snow proved that cholera was spread by infected water, which was very, very significant at the time, especially because this is actually pre-germ theory, okay? So this is not, his concept was before the idea of germs existing, so actually 7 years before. So it's really, really important. Now, at the same time, the government was actually moving on with some public health reforms, and it was the creation of an extensive sewage system. And this was due not because of John Snow himself. It's not as if, John Snow knew there was cholera and suddenly they decided to do it based on what he said in his area. It's actually because of something called the Great Stink, and they needed a better sewage system to make sure well, their towns, their city wasn't as smelly or dirty. Now, there's a number of factors that contribute to this development of public health. Snow is being one of them, government is one of them, but the whole point of today's lesson is really thinking about, well, do we think that his actions were particularly significant? So if we look back to our title in today's lesson, we're thinking about is how important was Jon Snow to the development of public health? Was he that important, or was it something else? Was it the government that was more important? So to do this, all we're doing is we're assessing change in both. So after reading through the pathway and the however box, I want you to think about I want you to think about using our simples criteria, Snow's actions. Where did it apply? Did it save people? Did it improve medical knowledge? Did it lead to other discoveries? You might find that actually some boxes you can't write anything, which is the point. Don't write it. And then I want you to think of the government action. So did they do things? The increasing an extensive sewage system. The vote, why is that important? Health reforms, Public Health Act, where does that apply and why are they so significant? Now that information you can find using what you would have just read and also these boxes here. So you need to read through this and then answer how it applies to the simples criteria. So I might write down that let's say I might say that the government action, so yes, creating a sewage system improved life for the public because it meant that there was access to clean water. As you read this, there's going to be a lot more information. So the highlighting activity is really significant so that you can kind of just know exactly what you're looking for here. Now, the last activity that you have to do is just read through these information bits and fill in the gaps, and then using what you would have read here, I want you to write down, well, why is he not considered so important? Why is that the case? For your box over here. And then you can just write down your summary and on whether you think that he was important. Was Jon Snow important? And I want you to evaluate and give me just a summary as if you're writing a introduction. So, use although, nevertheless for that summary. Thank you.